Well, welcome everyone to Mental Health Minutes, an extension of KeeleyLife, where we explore the H in HEAL regarding mental health and wellness. I'm here with Gina Birkemeier, licensed professional counselor, and today we're going to talk about something that is a little different for me, but it's regarding sleep and the brain, and I am going to let Gina kind of jump in overall what the topic is, and then we're going to dive in, and I want to learn some stuff here too.
Okay, well, thanks. So today we're going to talk about the hippocampus. And some people might know that word. Other people, it might drum up images of a large animal in Africa, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a part of the brain that's really important. And we're going to talk about how we can harness some of the things that the hippocampus is responsible for to help us build character even while we're sleeping.
Wow. So we can actually do good things to our bodies while we sleep. Well, this is interesting. I want to hear more.
Yeah.
So tell me, where does the hippocampus live? How does it work? How does it connect?
So we have two. There's like the hippocampi, right? So there's a left and a right, and they play an important role in our emotional health. They play an important role in something called consolidation, which is where we take information and consolidate it. It's just like it sounds, solidify it more, kind of give it its house for, is it part of our narrative? Is it long-term memory? Is it short-term memory? What's going to happen with this information? And one of its most important roles is that it helps us build our self-narrative, which is literally the story that we tell ourselves.
That's really important because we all have an image of ourselves that's usually not what other people see. So we can start to influence that, you're saying, to have more of a positive reflection on who we are.
Yeah, and sometimes what we're doing is we're reversing some things that maybe have been implanted for us, right?
Right.
Our first set of information that comes in about the story of who we are isn't designed by us. We don't give ourselves that information. We take it in from all of those nurturing and important relationships in our life early in life. So for some of us, this exercise is about enhancing or solidifying or building upon a foundation that we've already been given. For some of us, this is actually an exercise we will engage in that will push back, that will change some things for us, that will undo some things that have maybe not been so helpful and maybe perhaps not so healthy for us to believe about ourselves.
So tell us, how do we get started in engaging this part of our brain and starting to repair it while we sleep?
Yeah. So let's talk about character, okay? Because that's really what we want to, this particular piece is what we want to talk about. So character is a lot of different things, but we can kind of put it together in terms of our values, our beliefs, our behaviors, our perceptions of others, our perceptions of self, our foundation for our sense of self. It's that place where really kind of all of those things come together, right? It's the things that we believe about ourselves, the things that we believe about others. It comes from our values. It comes from the things that are important to us. Those are all the things that build us up. And those are all the things that build our character. So values are very important. Beliefs are very important. Sometimes we have to realize that some of our values and our beliefs are perhaps not aligning with our actions, and then we can see that there is this sort of rupture in character, right, in who we want to be and how we want to be. So what we can do is we can engage this part of our brain as we sleep, and the way that we do that is we think about the character traits that we want to enhance or embolden or magnify in our life, or maybe even just begin to develop from scratch.
So could you give a few examples maybe of what that would be?
Yeah. So there's a study from, I believe it's the University of Pennsylvania. This was done quite some time ago. But they were looking at all these different pieces that come about when we talk about character and the things that would consistently present themselves. And they came up with about 36 different things that really were kind of that place of your feelings, your thoughts, your behaviors, all converging into this thing that is your character. And through the Faithful Brain Institute, we kind of took that 36 and we narrowed it down. We realized there was a lot of overlap, and we saw it really more as we came up with 24 that were really core root characters. So these are traits like, and I'm just going to read the list because I don't know it by heart.
Yeah, perfect.
So faith, humor, prudence, persistence, perspective, social intelligence, gratitude, self-control, bravery, love of learning, kindness, hope, humility, vitality, appreciation, mercy, dependability, open-mindedness, creativity, citizenship, love, and fairness. So any and all of these things can be character traits that we look at this list, and I'm actually going to send you the list so that you can share it with everyone and they can kind of take a look at this and kind of say, you'll look through this list and you'll say, yeah, that's something I would really love to work on building. Maybe it's your sense of gratitude. Maybe it's curiosity. That is one that we lose often as we get older. We lose our sense of curiosity. We don't ask the kind of just really creative questions that perhaps we asked as a child. So that's often one that I encourage people to bring back into, because the research shows us that curiosity really helps enhance our left and right brain activities. So curiosity is wonderful to engage in that. So what we do is we decide what we're going to work on, and we pick that character one at a time.
Okay.
And we're going to do one at a time, and we're going to do it for 30 days. And the reason we do it for 30 days is because the research shows us that's about the time it takes for a habit to form. And the reason it takes 30 days is it takes about that long for new neurons to be born, to mature, to wire together, and then fire back and forth together to make a neural network that is strong enough to where it actually has become a habit. That's about a 30-day process for all of that to really solidify. And then, of course, we want to continue to enhance it. So I do encourage just one for the first 30 days. And then if you want to keep working on that one, you can, or you can pick another one. So it's important to get really clear about what the trait is that you want to enhance in your life. And you can do that by looking at outside sources. Some people might want to go to the dictionary. They might want to go to a biography of someone who they know really has exhibited that character in their life. They might want to go to spiritual writings and see what does this character trait really mean? Because sometimes if we don't have that right, it's really hard to do the exercise to build upon it.
Okay.
Right? So for example, if we're working on our bravery, or if we're working on our courage, we don't want to say that that's the absence of fear, because that isn't true. What bravery and courage, those are things that we do in spite of, right? Those are things that we kind of saddle up and we decide we're going to ride anyway, even if we're afraid. So we have to get really clear on what the definition is so that we can align the behaviors that help reinforce the trait.
Okay.
So once we figure out what the trait is that we want to expand upon in our life, we're going to intentionally create at least 3 opportunities every day to exhibit that character trait. So if it's bravery, okay, or courage, and somebody asks me to do something that is really not in line with my values and my beliefs, say it's at work, I'm going to do the brave thing and I'm going to stand up and I'm going to say the thing. But if that doesn't happen, I still have to create an opportunity for bravery to happen or for courage to happen. So maybe it's somebody that I've been wanting to get to know more, but I've been a little apprehensive, gun shy to just kind of put myself out there. I'm going to do that anyway. Maybe I've been wanting to try a new habit, or maybe I'm going to make a phone call, or maybe I'm going to comment on something I wouldn't normally comment on and ask a good question. Whatever those things are that can grow my bravery or my courage or my curiosity, my generosity, whatever I'm working on, I want to create 3 opportunities every day to do that, to actually exhibit that character. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So 3 behaviors or opportunities every day for 30 days. So how does it work when you sleep?
Yeah. So at night, as you're falling off to sleep, what you want to do is, as you're literally falling asleep, you want to reflect back on those character traits, how you exhibited those character traits, how you were intentionally working on that particular trait. Because consolidation is most effective right as we're falling off to sleep. And that's typically because we don't have all of the stimuli bombarding us that we do in our day, right? We don't have people in our face. Our phone isn't ringing. We don't have a toddler hanging off of us. We aren't thinking about the next 5 meetings we have to walk into. None of that is going on. We're not scrolling through social media. We're just trying to go to sleep. Well, let me give you a caveat to that. If you're anything like me, that can also be the time of day when little voices start, right? Like, oh, I forgot to do this. Oh, I didn't like the way that meeting went. Oh, shoot, I need to pay that bill. I didn't finish my presentation. Whatever could be going on, right? And so all that kind of, or you have an idea about something. Oh, I don't want to forget this, or I have to remember to do that. So that takes us away from what we want to be doing.
Right.
That pulls our attention away. So there's something that's called the zygarnic effect. Okay. The zygarnic effect is all of that. And that was she was a researcher way back in the day. But basically what we want to do when that bombards us is we just want to simply write it down. I encourage all my clients to keep pen and paper by the bed. So if you have I can't forget this, or, oh, this needs to happen, or, oh, I didn't finish that, you just make a quick note to yourself and then you let it go. And that paper actually becomes like a holding place. It allows us to give ourselves permission to let that thought go so that we can then refocus back to the character trait that we're building. So as we're falling off to sleep, we want to engage with ourselves in how we exhibited those behaviors during the day. If we're a person of faith, this is where that can be extremely powerful, because we can actually create a space to make that a prayerful contemplation of what we did during the day, and really kind of asking in prayer, like, for guidance for those kinds of things. So you can actually even make this a spiritual practice if you like. But ideally, what we're doing is we're building that piece of our narrative. We're making that character trait more true about us, so it becomes a deeper part of our narrative.
Okay. So question, what if there was not as much intentionality that day that you wanted, and you don't have these three things? And there's individuals, I mean, I'm sure you've been there, I have, where you start to beat yourself up, right? I had this opportunity, I didn't do it. Why didn't I say this? Why didn't I do that? So how do you not, or is it okay to still, because you're still talking about that straight trait, you're still, acknowledging it. Is that okay to do as well?
So not the beating up part. That's never okay.
Yeah.
We don't want to beat ourselves up. But I think that two things can happen. One, we can say, what can I learn from? Yeah, I missed that opportunity. What can I learn? Right? This I'm going to learn, because that's what we want to do. We want to learn. So we don't beat ourselves up. We don't get into that I suck kind of mode, right? Like, because that's not helpful. You're actually defeating the purpose then. And then now we're making something else true about ourselves that we don't want to be true about ourselves, that isn't really true about ourselves. So we want to keep back onto our character traits. We want to keep coming back to that. So just loop it back around. What did I learn? What will I do differently the next time?
That's
What will
important.
I do differently the next time? What is my lesson? And you can even play that scenario in your head, like not just like a talking, like, what could I do different, but literally picture yourself doing that thing differently, because you can still get some benefits from that in building that character trait as you see yourself actually engaging in whatever that conversation was, whatever that activity was. As you see yourself doing that differently, you can actually get benefit out of that as well.
So, because this is all new to me, so I'm want to kind of pull it together. So, if the intentionality behind really focusing right before we go to sleep, it's ultimately solidifying that character to be more prevalent in our habits and our just our natural makeup of who we are, as well as um, we're building upon it, and it's I hate to, like, so it's a part of us. We're making it a part of us. So if we're doing this and then we choose to focus on another trait, we're actually able to what I'm hearing is repairing what we could have thought of ourselves, and start to repair that to have a better self image character as well as we move forward.
Yes,
Yes.
100%. I think it's, we make some of us think that we're just sort of fixed in this place, right? Wherever we are. And there is some danger to the phrase, that's just how I am.
Yeah.
There's some danger in that phrase. And so, because really the question we then need to ask ourselves, is this how we want to be? And the
Right.
whole idea of building this character is to become more of who we are, who we're meant to be, but also who we want to be. So this is a place where we can really intentionally take a hold of that. And even we're not going to get it right all the time.
Right.
We're going to miss opportunities. What's really great about giving ourselves permission to acknowledge the missed opportunity without, and while we stay out of judgment about ourselves, what's great about that is we're far more likely to catch the opportunity the next time, because
Right.
we've given ourselves permission to acknowledge, this is what I want to do next time, not what I wish I would have done this time. This is what I want to do, what I'm going to do the next time. And then thinking through it in that lens, staying out of shame, staying out of those more corrosive emotions, those more corrosive ideas of who we are.
So what is like when your brain, takes it and puts it in compartments, how is that helping long term? Can you explain that a little
What do
bit
you mean
more?
by compartments?
So you're saying how it compartmentalizes, like you were talking about that early on. So
So, not so much compartmentalizing as we would think of that being negative, right? Like we shut this off in a box, we
yeah,
shut this off in a box, more as where does this go?
okay,
Right? Like maybe I don't need to remember how much I spent at lunch today, but it
yeah,
might be a good idea to remember the waitress's name because I've seen her 3 times now and I really want to engage her in conversation.
okay, okay,
So that's kind of those kinds of things where like this is a thing where I don't know that we need that. Oh, this is really important. We're going to keep this.
right,
And we also know from research that the things that have emotion attached to them are far more likely to be deeply consolidated into memory. So it's called emotional salience. So if you are perhaps in a place where um, you have some deep emotion about something, maybe in this character trait, perhaps especially when we're talking about things like generosity, love, those kinds of things, when we want to grow those pieces of our character, there's a lot of emotion that's attached to that. So those are probably going to consolidate a lot easier than some of the other things will.
okay.
And if you really want to get creative with this, and if you're making it a spiritual practice, you can also fold that in with your gratitude. So you can actually
Yes.
say, if you're praying about this, and if that's part of how you're doing this, you can say, thank you so much for that opportunity to practice my gratitude today. And you can ask, please give me opportunities tomorrow to practice my gratitude or my curiosity or whatever that might be.
No, I love that connection. Well, Gina, this has been awesome just to, even touching the surface of understanding what this is, right? So thank you so much. What else, is there anything else you can add? I know you're going to provide some resources that we will pulse out to everyone as well with this broadcast.
Yeah, I think I would just encourage you when you're trying to figure out what that character trait is, if you're in a place of life where you maybe are struggling with some
Mhm.
things, make this a little bit easy. Be kind to yourself, right? So if you're really struggling with some things, you don't want to pick a character trait that requires a big reach. Okay. We want to pick a character trait that is kind of a just right challenge, right? Which means if we're here, we can certainly reach here. But if we're here and we're really tired, we don't want to try to go way up here because we're just going to kind of defeat ourselves. So
Yeah.
maybe if you're in a place where you're struggling right now, pick something that you're already working on or something you see a little bit in yourself already that you just want to cultivate more.
That low hanging fruit you can grab, and then you feel
Love
that win, and you know what it feels like, and then we can move to the bigger fish, right? So I think
100%.
that is really important.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that. So
Yeah, absolutely. And you can look to your relationships for what some of those other things might be. If you're in a really good place and you're really looking to enhance relationships with your spouse, with your children, with your coworkers, if there seems to be a reoccurring theme of something that you're like, yeah, that comes up a lot. I think I need to work on that. Just let that go ahead and be something positive. Turn that into something positive and use that to guide you for what character trait you're going to choose to work on.
awesome. Well, I look forward to having that list too and in front of me, and I can't wait to start my first 30-day habit forming character building. So
Awesome.
awesome. Thank you so much, Gina.
Welcome.
I look forward to our next mental health minute. So stay tuned, everyone.